I have to find the correct area. In fact, I will not make that point. I want to make sure I get that point correct properly before I drop it out here. But we have to protect it. The Prime Minister, for example, of Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, whosoever he or she is, when that person leaves office, they collect their pension right away without regard to age. You know why? That person has obtained the highest office and hardly will find a work outside in the government service or any service. You see, our former Prime Minister said he's going to go and practice geology. He want to keep his skills sharp. That's his choice. And I see where he's going, quite up the islands. Quite up the, if we don't have money to buy a ticket, we're going. He's quite up the islands, going to study geology. Again, I will want that my colleagues around this table, including minority leader, that when we leave office, be it today or tomorrow, you must be able to have receipt of your pension immediately. There must be no delay with that. This is not a grandstanding thing to say you're looking nice with people and you want to eat last. Drips can pick you up. Drips can pick all you up. I mean, I'm the most senior. Mike will say, well, yeah, all the suffer. Put it for 6 years. Or you will come back here again next time. But it will be wrong and inhumane for me to do that. This politics thing is a very divisive thing in Tobago. You know, during political time, Madam Presiding Officer, husband and wife sometimes don't talk because one is PDP and one is an ex-scholar. You know? This happens sometimes. Politics is a very fierce thing. And therefore, when we're discussing this pension, you must bear in mind we are all political animals, meaning loosely, not animals. But when we fight, we're fighting. When Farley fighting me, and when I fighting I'm fighting him. All right? But when we come out here, after this, we have to live and maintain our family. I charge this house today to understand the power that is vested in us. We don't have to go to Trinidad first. Go by a law and ask any lawyer for this. And let's correct this injustice to the former assemblymen, women, councillors, whosoever would have worked and did not benefit to benefit. But let us have a house committee, or I will say the finance committee. The finance committee, for those who don't know, comprises of all of us. Whenever we sit at a house, we sit as a finance committee and everybody. So we can have a meeting as this, where we sit down to discuss our own terms and conditions, which is our next meeting, and agree to it. Yeah? Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Hope you all have all those notes down, or get the tape.
We are about 15 minutes off of the break, 4:30 break. Leader of Assembly Business, do we sit and complete the business for the day, or do we break at 4:30 for lunch?
Madam Presiding Officer, I beg to move that this House remain seated until the business of the Assemblyman for Buku, Mount Pleasant.
No, the business of the day.
Oh, for the entire
Day, yes.
We will remain seated until the business on the order paper have been completed.
Honorable members, the question is that we remain seated until the business of this House is complete. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against? Say no. The ayes have it. Assemblyman Craig, you may now join this debate.
Yeah, man. Let me be one of the first to. No, it's quiet. Thanks, yes, thanks. You shouldn't have. Yeah, so once again, I must, as I have I have this opportunity to address this august body to say how thankful I am to the people of Buku, Mount Pleasant, and Canaan for entrusting me with the confidence to stand in this house. It's by the grace of Almighty God that we are all spared to be able to speak in the interest of building the greatest little island on the planet. I have the honor of following the member from Roxborough, but before he spoke, I heard some inconsistencies that I think I should mention, yeah? Coming from the member from WIM, right? He asked some hard questions, but it's a simple question. He says, why now? And I asked him, why not now? He says, why didn't we bring it in 2022? And you would hear in the Chief Secretary's presentation of communication he has had with former assemblymen, which presented a kind of dire situation that demands that something be done. It will not be prudent for us as an administration to monitor the ebb and flow of the politics as a measuring stick as to when we should deal with matters that demand immediate attention. So the matter is before us. It's also interesting that the Chief Secretary in his presentation referenced that he's willing to have a conversation with the both arms of the minority in finalizing this conversation. It seems as though that flew over somebody's head. And I'm seeing where this seems to be one of the ways we definitely will have to go in dealing with this. In Section 16.5 of the THA Act, it rightly mandates the establishment of a contributory pension scheme for members, and that scheme has since been implemented, and current and recent members now benefit from structured retirement support. When I listen to the context and the content of this debate, it is clear that this is a necessary piece of administration for the Tobago House of Assembly and to benefit both present and especially past members of this House. There's an attempt to, at some times in our presentations, and I heard it with the member from Roxborough and also the member from Darrell Springwim, to create a burdensome situation that is not necessarily a part of the conversation. This need not be a drawn-out situation. We recognize the need, and we have brought the plaster to deal with the proverbial soap. Those who served before the scheme existed, for some, but for those who served before the scheme existed, what of the pioneers of the Assembly who laid the foundation upon which we now stand? They gave their all. I had the privilege of speaking to assemblymen who had to return to trade after leaving their time as an assemblyman. They gave their time, their energy, their wisdom to the people of Tobago. Yet, today, they face retirement without the security that we now enjoy. That is not just an oversight, it is an injustice. We cannot allow the timing of reform to determine the worth of their service. We cannot say to those who led before us, you were too early to be valued. That is not the Tobago we believe in. That is not the governance we aspire to. It is my personal understanding that the calculations involved in quantifying fair value and the associated cost to be undertaken by the THA could be challenging, but these are incomparable to the contributions made by these former members of this august body. This resolution affirms a simple but powerful truth, that all who have served in this assembly deserve fair and reasonable retirement support. Simple. It is a call to dignity, it is a call to gratitude, and it is a call to action. Let us support the Executive Council in its efforts to right this wrong. Let us ensure that no former member is left behind. Let us ensure no future member is left behind. Let us recognize that service to Tobago, regardless of when it was rendered, is worthy of respect, recognition, and reward. Yes. Those of us who plow the fields at this time could attest to the fact that this job that we now enjoy and appears to be of a certain standing to the eyes of the average person is no easy feat. It's not an easy job. And I know that it's a job that we enjoy doing, but that doesn't make it easy. And to see that we function within the framework of precedents set by these same stalwarts who are struggling at this moment leaves us to think over and over and to conclude that we are going in the right direction by bringing this matter to this House. Madam Presiding Officer, I am never a long speaker. Even when I preach in the church, the members are happy. You know, normally church services always go close to mealtime. But the situation before us is dire. And I'm saying that, and I'm supporting the move of the motion, the member for Lekoto, in this motion. It's a critical motion. Yes. Yeah, we need to take care of our own. Yes. We cannot have our own struggling, and we cannot have them just basic meals being a challenge. I must, in all fairness, say that I appreciate what I've heard before. I'm one of the people who never forget when the great late A.N.R. Robinson described the House and the shape of this desk as a place where ideas should be exchanged and not necessarily always be confrontational. And so I have to say it, Madam Presiding Officer, I urge all members, this is one motion I was of the view would have been passed very quickly. I was of the view that this motion would meet no resistance from any of the members of the minority. And I'm still saying that we have the majority in the House, and we are going to use that majority to the benefit of our retirees. But I'm hoping that we could see something new that we have never seen in the THA before. Well, I have not seen, where we could get all voices resoundingly voting in favor of this motion. I urge all members to stand in solidarity with this resolution, and let us decide not just with our voices, but with our values. Thank you very much. This one.
More cut. Assemblyman Wayne Clark, you may now join this debate.
Madam Presiding Officer, Honorable Chief Secretary, Madam Presiding Officer, before I proceed, I ask for permission 47-2 to read, I should say, most of my presentation.
Granted.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Chief Secretary, Honorable Fali Chavez Augustine, Secretaries, Assistant Secretaries, Honorable members of this Assembly, distinguished colleagues, and most importantly, the constituents of Lambo Lowlands who have entrusted me with the honor of representing them. A pleasant good afternoon. Also in the public gallery, pleasant good afternoon. Madam Presiding Officer, I wish to place on record in this House my profound delight at the posthumous recognition of Tobago's first Chief Secretary, the late Mr. Ho-Choi Charles, at this year's National Awards. His leadership, courage, and unwavering advocacy for Tobago's development continue to inspire us all, and his legacy on in this very institution that we serve today. Madam Presiding Officer, I rise in full support of the motion before this Honorable House. As a result, I wish to contribute to its consideration. As stated in the first paragraph of the motion, Section 16(5) of the Tobago House of Assembly Act No. 40 of 1996 provides that the Assembly shall, in accordance with the financial rules made under Section 52, establish a contributory pension scheme for members. This reinforced by Section 52 of the same Act. Section 52 states, within 2 months of the coming into force of this Act, the Assembly shall, subject to approval of the President, make such financial rules as necessary for the proper management of its finances, and such rules shall, when made, be laid in Parliament. Madam Presiding Officer, allow me to make reference to Dr. Rudal Munilal, as he introduced and read a first time in the House of Representatives on June 6, 2014, the Retiring Allowances Legislative Service Amendment Bill 2014. The general principle behind the payment of pension to a member of Parliament is generated from the reluctance of some persons to serve as a parliamentarian because of the belief that long years spent in public service does not provide adequately for the sacrifice of public life. In addition, when elected, parliamentarians often sacrifice potential pension payouts from employers, and parliamentary demands severely reduce the chances of re-establishing careers when their parliamentary term ends. It is believed that the payment of a pension to members of Parliament would strengthen the parliamentary institution and attract qualified persons to public service. Madam Presiding Officer, the Tobago House of Assembly members' superannuation benefit regulations, which took effect from December 9, 1996, guide the payment of retiring allowances to members of this Assembly, and they have remained unchanged since the inception. By contrast, the Retiring Allowances Legislative Service Act Chapter 203 offers stronger provisions. According to the Act, legislator means a person who, A, is an elected member, or, not being an elected member, is the holder of a specified legislative office. Retiring allowance means a retiring allowance payable pursuant to Section 5. Section 5 of the Act provides, subject to the provisions of this Act, a retiring allowance shall be paid to any person who, A, has served as a legislator for periods amounting in aggregate to not less than 5 years and has ceased to be a legislator, and C, either 1, has attained the age of 55 years, or 2, not having attained the age of 55 years. It has produced medical evidence to the satisfaction of the appropriate minister that he is incapable by reason of infirmity of mind or body of discharging the duties of a legislator, and that such infirmity is likely to be permanent. In comparison, Section 5 of the Tobago House of Assembly Members Superannuation Benefit Regulation states, 5.1, a pensioner shall be entitled to a pension under this section and payable in accordance with Section 8 of these regulations if he, A, has service amounting in aggregate to not less than 6 years and is not currently a member, and C, either 1, has attained the age of 55 years, or 2, while a member and below the age of 55 years has produced medical evidence to the satisfaction of the Executive Council that he is incapable, by reason of infirmity of mind or body, of discharging his duties as a member. Madam Presiding Officer, the inequity is clear. Under Retiring Allowances, Legislative Services Act, Chapter 203, a legislator becomes eligible for retiring allowance after 5 years of parliamentary service. Yet, under the THA regulations, eligibility arises only after National Parliament can qualify. After THA regulations, eligibility arises only after 6 years, a term and a half. This means a member of our national parliament can qualify for a pension after a single term, but a member of this assembly is not so fortunate under existing regulations. Madam Presiding Officer, it clearly means that a member of the THA has to agree or try to get to serve 2 terms under the present construct to get a pension. It's sort of like in national insurance. If you make the number of payments, you get 1 payment when you end, and that is that. What we are asking for is simple: equity. Our members should not be treated as lesser. Their service to Tobago deserves the same recognition, protection, and dignity as that of their counterparts, legislators elsewhere in the Republic. Madam Presiding Officer, imagine the legislation being adjusted in Trinidad, yet no one thought to raise the matter to consider the members of this House. Today, under the leadership of our Honorable Chief Secretary, Farley Chavez Augustine, we are making that call for fairness, care, compassion, and justice. Just as this nation remembered Mr. Charles for his selfless service, so too must we remember and provide for those who gave of themselves in this assembly. I have no doubt that if Mr. Charles were alive today, he would be at the forefront of this very struggle, urging us to act decisively to correct the imbalance and to ensure that those who have served Tobago are not left behind. Madam Presiding Officer, I listened to all the contributions, and I always try to listen, but I always try to understand people's angle. Listening to the minority leader, is it that we have developed a politics in Tobago that you oppose or you say no just because you're not on the side that's saying yes? You oppose for opposing's sake. And to question the timing of the motion, I think that in this term, in whichever term we sit in this House, the first day is as important as the last day. That you need to work the same way the first day as the last day, because that's why you have a particular term, because all the days are important. The same decision you could make on the first day, you make it on the last day, and it shouldn't be thought of as you come in with an anger. People seem to think on the other side that we are making this decision because there's a pending election, or we have this motion because there's a pending election. You know, sometimes the reality of our situation in here is that, and I kind of want to outgrow saying people on the other side, you know. Every time, the very things that the other side try to accuse everybody of is the things that they have perfected over the years. It's true. Can we actually sit here and say there's a particular time to do right? If you realize you're going wrong and it's time to change around, you prove that you're a man when you say I'm going wrong and then we change around. The people who went before us deserve to be treated right. It didn't matter. It might look away because we are in our 4th year of our 40 years. But somebody choose not to do it in their 21. We are not alike in that aspect. The people who went before and slaved and sacrificed for Tobago deserve to be respected, they deserve to be recognized, and they deserve what is theirs. Yes. Be it before election, during an election, or after election, they slave and they should be recognized. So we should stop putting a political spin on everything that comes up in this house. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't get us nowhere. If you had done this in your first year, then if the opposition back then was like you are today, they would have been saying you're doing it because you want to stay long. We are doing it now. You're saying we're doing it because we want to retain office. Without fear, we will retain office. We will. Because if you have to compare 21 to 4, even in playway language.
We're just about relevance, member?
Relevance?
Yes.
Come in. You know, sometimes the road ain't always straight, you have corners. Yes.
Can you please get here?
I'm trying. We just opened a new road in Cove, so I'm coming around the corner.
Please continue with your presentation.
Officer. So I think it's one of the times I would like to see us work together. Yes. But nevertheless, because of the overwhelming numbers, with or without the support of the other side, we will pass. Yes. This motion will go forward. We're just asking them to try to tag along that the history got say at least for once in your life you try to stand up to do something that was right for Tobago. Yes. The minority leader talked about he took the motion to Tobagonians. He didn't come down by me, he ain't carried by nobody I know. Yes. But the same how he took it to Tobagonians and they had a problem with it, I also took it to Tobagonians. Yes. And they supported it. Right. And right now, as it stands in the House, is we have the overwhelming numbers, so I guess that more people is bent on supporting it than opposing it. I support this motion fully, Madam Presiding Officer, because I think it's timely, it's needed, and it's never too late to do the right thing. Doing the right thing is when you recognize something is wrong. And when you recognize something is wrong, then you are just a man or a woman enough to turn it around and do what you know is the right thing to do. The people that went before us, they work hard and they deserve what should be theirs. And we shouldn't have to wait on no time or no special person to come and say that this is the right time or that is the right time. Election or no election, I say, even though the people are struggling, it is theirs, give them what is theirs, because nobody can give us the right to determine that somebody should get what is theirs only when they're struggling. People work, and they should be treated fairly. So, Madam Presiding Officer, as I close, I support this bill 100%. I support that the Tobagonians who made the foundation on which we stand today should be given, should be recognized and given what is rightfully theirs. Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. I rest.
I think this is the battle of the two petals. Okay. Councillor Petalan Roberts, you may now join this debate.
Thank you very much, Madam Presiding Officer, and I just want to ask that I refer to my notes as I contribute to this debate.
Leave granted.
Madam Presiding Officer, I want to start my contribution with a quote. Because while the mover of the motion, the leader of Assembly Business and the member for Bethesda, Lescato, Golden, was giving a contribution, there was a lot of snickers and laughter and seemed to be jeering and sneering at her response to this motion. And this is what I would like to start by saying. He who laughs at another man's misfortune has already opened doors for their very own. I rise and give my full support to this motion, and I want to thank the Honorable Chief Secretary as well for allowing us to bring this motion at a time such as this. And I was glad when the minority also opposed, because there are Tobagonians who are listening. And I don't understand the point where he made that this is self-serving, because I don't know that any members here are not contributing already to a fund, and this motion is actually seeking to rectify and to assist those who have not had the benefit of any retirement or pension fund during their tenure. And we stand actually on the shoulders of these very people. I do, because this assembly was not started in 2021 or even the year 2000. But there are those who actually build this horseshoe, this institution, for which we can now stand, and as the member for Roxborough was saying, some of us are looking so rich and so fluffy and so lovely. But we are really standing on the works and the sacrifices of those who have worked in the past. Madam Presiding Officer, this motion seeks to include former members as part of a contributory pension scheme being implemented under Section 16(5) of the Tobago House of Assembly Act No. 40. The present arrangement benefits only the current and recent members who had the opportunity to contribute, wholly negating the service of those members who built the very foundation of our democracy. These servants were excluded, though no fault of theirs, and I think it's only an adjustment that is only fair, very reasonable, and long overdue. At present, the system is fundamentally flawed, and I'll tell you something. I don't know if members of this House know this. We all pay a contribution to a fund. It goes into, as the Chief Secretary and member for Palliative Lands for Me Speyside said, we pay into a fund, a bank account, and we have a cash book. We should be able to identify the contributions of every single member here. But when we get to the point of retirement and a payment of that pension, no money is drawn from that fund. It actually comes out of the parliamentary appropriation. And it is for this very reason I think we should make some amendment and revisions to the way in which we pay retirement benefits and pensions to assemblymen, former assemblymen, because you do not have to contribute to a fund to actually be paid, because it's actually coming out of an allocation, the appropriation of the Tobago House of Assembly. This system that we currently have, it rewards only those fortunate enough to serve after the contributory scheme was introduced, while former members who shouldered the same responsibilities, the same sacrifices that we make, and perform the same legislative duties are left with nothing. And member for Bethesda, Lescato, Golden, you know, I felt it Because I've spoken to the same gentleman, and I remember as a child seeing them in this honorable house giving their contributions, and I could not believe that they are actually left with nothing at the end of the day. And to see people snickering and jeering and laughing, it is indeed shameful to see the same members, because they are doing the same thing that these members did, the former members did in the past. They sit in this very same chamber, give their contributions, take all the backlash, take all the licks, and at the end of the day get nothing. But as I said, I started saying, he who laughs at another man's misfortune has already opened doors to theirs. Now, a pension is not really a favor or gift. It is recognition of service. Every assemblyman who sat in this chamber has made immeasurable sacrifices. They gave up time with their families, set aside private ambitions, and opened up themselves to scrutiny and criticism that the public life brings. To think that nothing was in place for former members is deeply unjust. One should not devote a lifetime to serving your country and your community only to be neglected by the same country that they served. Madam Presiding Officer, while one cannot place a dollar value on that sacrifice, because you can't really pay for this kind of work, we can assure that when these men and women retire, they do so with dignity and some semblance of security. Retirement without financial stability can be debilitating for those who once held the people's trust. A scheme such as a pension scheme reduces dependency on their family members, and even us as the current government now, for welfare support, ensuring that those who serve Tobago remains independent in their latter years. Now, if young people are looking on and listening to us today, they will see this political path as one without long-term gain, and they in turn may turn away from public service and serving us as people in the future. However, if they see Tobago honors those who serve as we are trying to do now, that dedication is acknowledged and sacrifice is recognized and rewarded fairly, and then politics becomes an honorable and a sustainable career path. Such assurance strengthens our democracy by encouraging capable and attracting competent leaders to step forward.
Don't believe we could continue. We do not have a quorum. Can the members be summoned back to the chamber, please? Councillor Roberts, you may continue.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Madam Presiding Officer, as the member for Roxborough Argyle clearly articulated the instance in Trinidad, we need not look far for a precedent. In our national parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, all parliamentarians, regardless of when they serve, are entitled to state-supported pensions, and especially for a shorter period of time. Why then should Tobago's members who face equal or greater challenges building this island from the ground up be treated as second-class leaders? Madam Presiding Officer, we cannot allow history to record that those who laid the foundation to Tobago's governance are weighed in the balance and left wanting. Madam Presiding Officer, we have to look at a well-structured, contributory pension scheme that spreads responsibly, fairly, and it is sustainable. Both the members of the Assembly and the institution must contribute, creating a joint benefit. and that is shared responsibility. We must design a framework where contributions are balanced, sustainable, and fair. And that way it is not a strain on only the public purse, but a partnership between those who serve and the assembly that they serve under. I will not dismiss the concerns on the other side of the point where we are prioritizing this issue now, and that it may appear self-serving, especially as some public officers face the same reality in relation to gratuity payments. Others will warn of the fiscal strain such a program may create. Now, these concerns are valid, and I have conversations with my colleague. I speak to the member for Bethesda, Lescotto, Golden all the time about the